Hi guys, Rick Malava here with SimplyMaya.com, and I want to throw out a big thank you to one of our, looks like, new users here. He's only got 11 posts. His name is Keld, and he's going through one of the video tutorials that we have on the site, and he points out that when he was doing a Boolean operation, a lot of little faces within his model would simply disappear. And you can see here's a little screenshot that he threw out for us. I don't know how clear this will be in the video, but you can see that he's got all these little holes in his model, and basically he was booleaning the spout to the body of a jerry can model, and all of these little faces disappeared. And I've noticed this behavior starting in one of the recent releases of Maya ever since Autodesk picked it up. So I think they changed some features in the Boolean operation that I think have been in the Boolean tool way back as far as Maya 3.0 when I started using Maya. And one of the rules when you're doing Booleans, or things that would make a Boolean fail, is that if you have either edges that are very close together so that the vertices between the edges almost appear to be co-resident, or if you have faces in the model with zero face area. Well, in the olden golden days, if you tried to Boolean objects like that, they would just simply, both objects would just simply disappear because the Boolean operation would fail. So I think what they did is at some point between the golden olden days of Maya 3.0 and the current days of Maya 2012, they added a feature into the Boolean operation that you can see after the fact, and I'll show you in a second. You can't actually open up a Boolean options box and turn these options on before you do the Boolean. You have to do the Boolean, and then after the Boolean you can go to the Boolean node in the object's history, and you can then turn on this thing called zero face area, or face area threshold, or vertex distance threshold. And here is in his thread a list of the things that will cause a Boolean to fail and some of the things you can do to fix them up. And I don't know if you can read this, so I'll just read the important section to you that Keld actually was sharp enough to pick up on. And that is, when you're doing a Boolean operation, you need to ensure that the meshes involved do not have very small faces or edges. Boolean operations do not work on meshes that have zero area or very small faces or zero length or very short edges. The Boolean feature automatically checks for and removes small faces and edges via the use a threshold option on the polybool opt node. So this is basically the history node for the bool operation. And this controls two threshold settings that determine whether the small faces or edges are checked for and removed. So you can turn, and what that is really talking about is, here I've got an object, and I've intentionally created a very small bevel and then a very small edge loop. So I've created this very small polygon right here, and when I do this Boolean intersection operation, you see that polygon is deleted. And if I undo, let me get rid of the grid here, which is a little bit distracting. So if I undo, and let's maximize this. So if I undo the operation, right, go back to before I did the Boolean. So now I have two cylinders here. I just created a couple of standard primitive cylinders, and then created an edge bevel and added an edge loop. And you'll notice if I go to mesh, if I pick this object and I want to add this object to it, that would be a Boolean union. And if you notice from the pie menu, you don't have any options for any of the Boolean operations at all. So I thought that was kind of strange, so I went up to the actual polygon drop-down menu up here, and our toolbar, and went to the mesh operation and went to Boolean, which is up here in this menu, and you see you do have options. So I said, okay, let's look at the union options, and the only option you appear to get is preserve color. So I was like, okay, let's see what happens when we actually union these things together. So I selected this object and I want to add this object to it, and we'll zoom in on this polygon right here, and if I do the Boolean union, there you go. That polygon disappears because Maya's thinking it has zero face area. So let's look at the Boolean opt node, and you can see right here I have these options to control vertex distance, which is very small, and currently face area is, you can't go any smaller. It says delete any faces that have an area that are exactly 0. So this thing is seeing this face of 0. It's interpreting this face as having 0 face area, and it's just automatically deleting it. Now, there's a couple things that I noticed. Obviously you can't get to these options before you do the Boolean operation, as I just demonstrated. But after the operation, I can come in and I can do a couple of things. And I've played around this for some time now, and different things happen when you turn this use threshold on and off and on. The first thing you can do is tell Maya to just ignore this and try to do the Boolean operation, and please try to leave everything alone. And if I check that, you can see in this particular case it now just puts the face back and successfully does the Boolean operation. But in a couple of previous tests as I was playing with this, I had the old behavior that I remember from the old days with Maya 3.0, where both objects would just disappear. And it's for that reason, back when I originally started using Booleans, and I've somehow over time, this has just slipped to my mind, I would always try to do my Boolean operations before I put in my cut in my control edges, because of this very problem, and you would get things to disappear. It's particularly bad if you try to Boolean through a pair of edges that are very close together to one another. That really makes Maya upset. So the first thing you can do to try to fix this, like I said, is you can just come in here and after the fact turn this use threshold checkbox on and off, and that will sometimes fix everything. And I say sometimes because, as I said, I've been playing with this, and sometimes everything just disappears, and sometimes it actually successfully fixes the problem. You can't actually go any smaller than this, so that solution obviously won't work. You can also, if it's just very small faces in your model, and if I was to put more small faces in here, I could demonstrate this, but the way that the fill hole tool works is I can actually go to edge mode and pick the entire model. And any place that there are holes in the model when you do fill hole after you've selected every edge, it'll just automatically fill them in, and it won't hurt anything else in the model. The danger of doing that, though, is if you have an area where you've created a hole that has a bunch of adjacent polygons, it'll just simply fill that big hole in, and you'll end up with the gigantic, or not necessarily gigantic, but you'll end up with a with an n-gon there. And so then you have to go back through and try to figure out what's going on with that. And I've obviously created an n-gon here. But that's not the purpose of the video, to talk about n-gons. It's the purpose of this is to show what's happening with that Boolean union tool. So, what would I suggest as my solution? Well, I would say try to do Booleans before cutting in control edges, very tight control edges. And that is probably the best way to avoid this. So I should have actually cut that, intersected that that spout into the jerry can before cutting in the tight edges, and I apologize for that. But the other thing, other way that you can do that is, if Booleans will fail for any number of reasons, and sometimes it can be faster just to do the Boolean another way than to just keep beating your head against a wall trying to figure out how to make Maya happy. So as long as I have the video running here, let me show you another way that we can actually union these things together. So I just need to back up enough where they come apart again. And so for purposes of this, I'm just going to intersect, or I'm just going to union this part of the cylinder into this cylinder and not worry about the part that's going through the back. So for that reason, I'm just going to take this guy, I'm going to hold down the left shift button, the W in the left shift button, and go to object mode so I can move it along its axis like that, and then go back to world mode as far as our axis is concerned. And so I can come in here, and this is I probably should have made this a little smaller model, but well, what the heck. So we're going to come in here, and what we're going to do is just manually cut the hole in, the edges in around this object. So what I'm going to do is go to the split, and I want to use the old split tool. I'm just more comfortable with it, and I just come in here and oh shoot, let me turn edges on, and then every place there's an edge, I'll throw a loop in. Boom, boom. Those are co-resident. Boom. So I'll put it on that edge. Let's just throw that in. Oops, didn't like that. Let's start again here. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I may have to do this one more time because I believe I know why it's not completing, and that is that, yeah, that's why. Go to the split polygon options, it's already turned off. Hold on, let me pause this for a second and figure out what's going on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's try this again. Let's go and start cutting in the hole. And the issue I had there was apparently going from this edge all the way to the same edge without putting another edge in there. It was creating a hole or something. So I'll just do that. So I'll do this first cut, and then I'll come in here and continue cutting around this object. All right. Oops, I paused the video when I got to this point to go answer the door, and then I came back and continued another 3 minutes of speaking, and then wrapped everything up and realized that I just recorded nothing. So let's finish this up here. Sorry about that. So what was I doing? I was splitting this guy out. So let's see here. Go back to, I'm going to use the old split tool. I actually keep the old split tool and its options up here on my shelf now, because I just prefer it over the new tool. It's not my favorite new tool, but hopefully they'll fix up some of the things I don't like about it. So we're just continuing to cut around here, and I'm being very sloppy. Of course, you'd try to be a little bit more careful as you're doing this. Now here's the issue again. If I try to cut to that edge, it's gonna be upset at me, and I should have probably split it down here, but just for expediency, I'm going to split it across there, then continue right along here. What I'm doing, by the way, is I get to where I want to stop cutting the edge, and I had to come back the wrong direction here. So I'm holding, first pressing the right button down to place my vertices, and then I just left button down. I'm sorry, and then when I want to close the tool, or not really close the tool, but when I want to finish this particular set of edges that I'm drawing in, I just press the right mouse button, and that leaves the tool open so that I can actually start doing my next edge loop, and I don't have to hit the G key to continue doing this. So I'll get to this edge right here, and then I'll hit the right mouse button, and I can continue cutting edges if I want. So after all of that fun work, what we've done is we've effectively just cut a hole around this thing that matches an edge for every edge in our cylinder that we want to merge together. And I'll hit the Q key to actually drop that tool, and then I'll pick this guy, and I've already got it in local mode, or object mode, so I can move it along its axis. And rather than try to put it back where it was, I could have froze its transforms, or did a lot of ways to keep it where it was at. But I just want to show how to connect these guys up. So what I'll do is I'll take all of these faces and then delete those caps, that cap on the end there. And then I can take this guy and just get it a little closer. And I can come in here and delete these faces. Dunk, 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 dunk. There we go. And of course I accidentally picked some edges of faces up here. Make sure I don't have any extra faces picked anymore. And do that again. Now I can come in and using a tool that was, well, first what I have to do now that I have the things done is, of course, you'd have this where you want it to be, and yada yada. But first thing I need to do is combine the two objects together so that I can connect them up. And then using a new tool that Autodesk added that was part of 3ds Max, and it was called Target Weld. They've added a new thing called the vertex merge tool. So if I go to vertex mode and pick a vertex, then holding the shift key down in the right mouse button, I can go up to vertex and then drag down to vertex tool and drop that. And now I've got that tool handy, and I can just sit here and zip these two parts together by snapping those verts together all the way around the piece. Boom, boom, boom. So this is, you know, booleans sometimes can be a little finicky in Maya. With any package, it's a very complex package. It's been around for a while. When the booleans aren't quite wanting to cooperate with you, you can just come in here and merge up your parts manually like this. And one nice thing is there's always multiple ways to solve the same problem in Maya. I'm sure people watching this right now are thinking of lots of different ways they could just have connected these pieces up than I showed you right here. But it's a little longer than it would take to do the Boolean. You still have to now come in here and clean up some of these n-gons that you create, and these terminate some of these edges more more cleanly. You have to be careful about adding edges that run parallel to these edges here, because you'll start to change the shape of the circle up here. But there you go. Booleans can be finicky, but they're not as evil as a lot of people make them out. You just have to kind of be willing to play with them a little bit and understand what things make them break and what things fix them. So we know in this particular problem now, though, that when we have these faces disappear, you can go in after the fact and after you've done the Boolean. Oh, shoot, sorry about that. I must have lost the polybool opt node. I was going to just point out that after you do the Boolean operation, you can go to that polybool opt node, and in the node you can either tell it to ignore the distance or area thresholds, and sometimes that'll fix the problem and cause these little polygons to pop back. Or the other option is, before you do your Boolean operations, go through and delete all of the very tight control edges, then do the Boolean and then add the control edges back in, or do the Booleans before you add the control edges in the first place. So there you go. I hope this helps you out, and once again, thanks, Keld, for pointing out the issue pointing out the fact that the polygons that were disappearing were very small ones, because that helped jog my memory on what causes that problem. So good luck. I hope you have success using the tutorial, and you learn a lot from it. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.